I am in my Father's house. My Father's house are words that you can find that Jesus said. If you are familiar with a Bible, if you're not familiar with a Bible, you are not familiar with the words Jesus said. I mean, it's just that simple. I don't care how many times you went to Bible school at the church in the summer when you were young. It doesn't matter at all how many Bible schools you attended while you were young. What have you done since those days? Those days years ago that I'm talking about is when everybody went to church. I mean, it was an expected thing. There were two churches, and there still are two churches in this town. Right, I can see them if I walk out the door. And years ago, those churches were not brick buildings. They are today. One has a bell, the other one does not. Have you ever noticed that if you get it first, you won't be copied? I've noticed that here in this town, and I've been here a while. There are two churches. They do not look anything alike at all. They don't. That's just the way it is, and it's not just here in this town. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. How many of you understand what born means? Have you understood what born means? Born. You were born. Everyone that I know that have or has been born have been given a name. They were given a name. Jesus was given a name just like the other children that were born were given a name. Jesus had a relative. God does not have relatives. No. God has no relative. Jesus, on the other hand, had a relative born a few months before he was. He did. Do you know who his relative was? Do you know who Jesus' mother is? Okay, let's see. Did you say Mary was Jesus' mother? If you did, you were correct. You can go ahead and learn that there were many women named Mary. It was not an uncommon name at all back in that day. Mary, the wife of Joseph. That's who gave birth to Jesus. Mary, the wife of Joseph the carpenter. You can read in a Bible and you can find out these things. Mary, the husband of Joseph, gave birth to her baby, her firstborn child, in Bethlehem years ago. And there were censuses taken years ago. There will be a census taken this year, according to the government of the United States of America. There will be a census taken. And I don't know what day they are expected to compile and get all the information as to how many citizens there are. All I know is this is a census year. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. A census was taken. And I read yesterday, chapter 13 of Matthew. That's what I read yesterday. Today, I haven't read anything so far. I have only spoken. I have said some things, and you can figure out that I have read some things. Now, back to Matthew. Matthew, first writer in New Testament. That's all you need to know really about Matthew. Well, what Matthew was it? I don't know. It doesn't say. I'm sure there have been speculations. All I know is I have in front of me a book that's got Matthew in it. And if you read Matthew, all of the chapters, you will turn and you will finally get to Matthew, the last chapter. The last chapter of Matthew. You can find it right on a page in front of you if you have a Bible. I have turned to the last page of Matthew. The page number in this book is 1557. 1557. The last page has got Matthew. And at verse 12 of the last chapter, I will read to you. And when they had assembled with the elders and consulted together, they gave a large sum of money to soldiers. That's what happened. A large sum of money to soldiers. And said, this is the payoff. I pay you, you say the words that I put in your mouth. That is what's expected if you get a payoff. And you are supposed to, because you have taken money, you are not supposed to change the story. You are to say, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep. That's all you got to say. They had assembled with the elders and consulted together. They gave a large sum of money to the soldiers. And they said, you are to say, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were sleeping. They also continued, according to the book in front of me. They said, if this should come to the governor's ears, if this should come to the governor's ears, we will win him over and keep you out of trouble. Those were the words that are written right here. And they took the money and did as they had been instructed. And this story was widely spread among the Jews, even to the day of this writing. It may be still today. I don't know. I haven't lived among many Jews, I can assure you. But the 11 disciples proceeded to Galilee, to the mountain which Jesus had designated. Jesus had designated, and the disciples went. 11 of them. Only 11. One didn't go. The one who had betrayed and kissed Jesus did not go to the mountain, to the designated mountain. He died. I have read, not here, but in the book, that he hung himself. That's what I read. I wasn't there. I cannot verify it by sight, but I can verify that I have read he hung himself. When they saw Jesus there, they worshiped. Jesus could have been worshiping also. How many times had Jesus gotten together with his disciples and worshiped God? Do you think that it could have been quite a few or not? When Jesus and his disciples went to Jerusalem, to the temple, were they not going there to worship God? If not, why do you suppose they went? Some of these disciples were doubtful. They didn't know if Jesus was going to show or not. But Jesus came up and spoke to them, saying, That's what happens when somebody speaks. They say something. He tells them, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. In other words, Jesus has been told, son, you can now do things you could not do before. Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. The end of the age. How many ages have come to an end? Many have. Ages have come to an end. And at the end of every age, another one began. Why? Because that's how eternal God is. Do you know what eternal means? I know. Well, it's according to what you read. That's exactly right. Eternal. In my mind, that's my mind, may not be yours. Everlasting. Everlasting. Eternal. Everlasting. God was before all things. God created all things. God determined a lot of things. But God never named an animal. In all of his days, the Ancient of Days has never named an animal. He gave that ability to man. And the man may have given that ability to a woman. Yes, a woman may now name an animal. But it was not so in the beginning. Adam gave names to the animals. He did. God changed the names of some men. He did. I have not seen where God has changed the name of a woman as of today. God chose Noah. He did. And then God chose Abram. He did. Another child was born. Years later, his name was given to him by God. Jesus is his name. I don't care what you think about it. His name was given to him by God. And if you don't like it, your problem. That's what it is. Your problem.